Hags Time Up at Manchester United. That's what we're going to discuss today. Following on from the 3-1 defeat they suffered against Brighton um, this past weekend, I mentioned it in my previous video. Brighton dismantled Manchester United. Didn't give them any chance in the midfield. They outran them. They outworked them. Danny Welbeck scoring against you, so you know there's something's not quite working. And in a way, it's sad to see. I think anyone who grew up at the same time as me, sort of that early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s, 2010s, United dominated the English scene in football, and now all of a sudden they've become a joke to many people. I do think one day they're going to come back. We've seen a lot of false dawns, though, under the likes of Van Gaal, who was meant to bring this. Oh no, sorry, even before that, David Moyes, who was meant to follow on from Sir Alex Ferguson and build a long-term legacy, wasn't even there one season. Van Gaal was meant to bring this strict philosophy that get the players back on side. Won an FA Cup and was sacked straight afterwards. And then Mourinho came in, the revolutionary, the special one, the one who was going to turn the club around, let's get them winning silverware. And he did, a League Cup, Europa League and a Community Shield. The wheels fell off that really, really quick towards the end. And then Ollie, who, let's face it, was out of his depth. They went for a completely different approach and it didn't work. And now Ten Hag's come in with this new philosophy, this way of playing, possession-based, beautiful one-touch passing through the middle of the pitch. It's what United fans are clamouring for. It's not happening at the moment, though. And we use the Brighton game as an example, but we could use this whole season as an example because United have been subpar at times this season. 3 defeats from their opening 5 games. The 2 wins that they have got, they scraped through them against Wolves and against Nottingham Forest. Against Nottingham Forest, they were 2-0 down after 4 minutes. They had to claw back with the remaining 86 minutes in the match. And against Wolves, they came out the 1-0 victors. They really shouldn't have. They struggled massively at periods in that game. And it's weird to see because it feels like the club have regressed. They've went from 3rd place last season to currently around 12th. They won the Carabao Cup last season. It doesn't look like at all like they're going to win anything this year the way they're going. 2 finals, 1 trophy, 3rd place finish in your first season is successful for any manager, any club, barring say Man City at the moment. They've gone backwards in terms of the way they play. There's no one in midfield holding it all together. And we saw that especially in the Wolves game, the first game of the season. They've then brought in Amrabat, who's meant to fill that gap, and he's injured. He's out for a good few weeks now. It hasn't worked so far this season. Will Ten Hag be given the time? I believe he should. I do think there is something there. If I was a United fan, and a lot of them are in the same boat, I think Ten Hag is the man to get them forward with his ideology. He's young, he's hungry, he brings energy, but he also brings a sort of level-headedness to it, and that's what United need. He's a man manager, and he's strict in his philosophy. And it's something that a lot of these players in the Man United squad are in need of. Someone made a good point the other day that a lot of the players in this team have worked for the previous managers, and the previous managers have claimed that they were thrown under the bus by the players. And Ten Hag, maybe he's the man to get them back on side. Maybe he's the man to get these bad apples, so to speak, in order. He has the ability to do it, but is he going to be given the time is the question. My argument to it is if Ole Gunnar Solskjaer can get 3 years, Ten Hag should be given more than 1. He's already done more in that 1 season than Ole did. Ole got to a Europa League final and lost it. And he finished second, but he finished second in a transition period for Liverpool, a transition period for Arsenal where they weren't very good. Chelsea struggled that season. You know, he finished second in a season where everyone else was poor, but apart from City, and City were the what won the title with 100 points, so no one was going to catch that. He does need time. He needs to be given the trust to build the team that he wants. It was never going to be a one season fix. Everyone thinks he's going to come in and take the players that he's already had and make them into world beaters. And as a Liverpool fan, I relate to that because I remember when Klopp came into us and we thought, right, the team we've got, every single player is going to get turned into a world class player. It took 2-3 seasons before he got the team that he wanted. You know, he had to sign them piece by piece and get rid of the players bit by bit that he didn't want to fit in his system. And I think the worst thing United can do is get rid of Ten Hag, and then a new manager has to come in with Ten Hag's players and then have to get rid of them and then bring in his players. And before he can bring in his players, he then gets to say it doesn't work. And we've seen it before. You know, Solskjaer ended up with a lot of Mourinho's players. Mourinho ended up with a lot of Van Gaal's players. It doesn't work. And I think Ten Hag needs to be given the opportunity to build the team that he wants, as he started to do. Onana's came in, a goalkeeper who can play out from the back, which is integral to Ten Hag's system. He's brought in Mason Mount, who he sees as a versatile. He can play on the wing as a false nine, as an attacking midfielder. He can play a magnitude of positions. Anthony obviously isn't in the squad at the moment, but he still sees him as an integral part of the team because he plays every game. Probably, maybe price tag, but maybe there's something in it, you know. And Højlund as well, another one. He's come in young, energetic, and in the 2 games he's played so far, he's arguably been United's best player next to Marcus Rashford. So he's still building, and I think the worst thing you can do is rush him out the door because this season hasn't started off very well. It will turn around. They will be up there fighting for the top spots. It's just taken a bit of time to gel and get things going, and that's normal. In its second season syndrome, a lot of clubs suffer from it. A lot of clubs suffer from it. A lot of managers suffer from it. Ten Hag's not void from it. He's not invincible. I think the ownership needs to take a lot of blame. We're speaking about this strictly from a footballing perspective. I am not a Man United fan. I am not qualified, in my opinion, to speak about Manchester United's board. We all know the Glazers aren't the best owners, but I am not in a position where I feel I know enough about them to justify talking about them as the reason for Man United's poor performances on the pitch. I just focus purely on what I see on the pitch. And what I see is the team that isn't connecting at the moment. They're not fitting the philosophy of Erik Ten Hag. How long do I think he'll be given? Results do need to turn around. I would give him at least 2 more years. I do think the board will be looking at this though and saying if the results don't improve by January, we might need to start looking elsewhere. And yeah, they're in the right to do that, but it will regress the team backwards, and you're never going to win a league title doing this. There's anomalies, like you say Chelsea, they've always had a bit of a cut and dump system with managers. And sometimes it can work, like when Conte came in, or when Mourinho came in, or Mourinho came back. There's times it can do that, but you look at the squad that Chelsea had in those times and the players they brought in, it's apples and oranges. United have a back line consisting of Reguilon, Dalot, Lindelof, Harry Maguire's still there. And you look at that Chelsea team, and there was John Terry, Ivanovic, Diego Costa, Cesc Fabregas, Cesar Azpilicueta. It's night and day. And Ten Hag, United aren't going to win the league just by chopping and changing. It's not in them to do it. They don't have the ownership that Chelsea had in Abramovich. But yeah, I just wanted to give my thoughts on it. I've heard a lot of different discussion over it. I do think that he needs the time to get his team that he wants together. And I think if the Sancho thing is anything as well to go off, there's clearly a few people who don't want to be in the squad, and he needs to get rid of them before he can progress forward. And I just think that's my personal opinion. I do think Ten Hag will come good for them. Obviously, it's not in me to want it, but I do think it will happen sooner rather than later. Just give him time, give him what he needs, and if we look back at this in 2, 3 years' time and it doesn't work, then I was wrong, and maybe the United board will be wrong as well to give him the time. But I just don't think they will be. Thank you very much for watching. I'll post another video soon.